Are you living in a cashless society? Or are you still using cash? You may already be using your mobile phone or your debit or credit card to make your day-to-day purchases, such as your daily cup of coffee, your train and bus journey to work, or you may still be using cash. Now, I know the stats say that elderly people are the ones using cash mainly. In that case, you need to be aware that in the near future, cash will be a thing of the past, and we will be facing the most important decision of our lives, and that is to take or not to take the mark 666. And to refuse to take the mark will mean you or I will not be able to buy or sell. This will mean that we won't be able to feed our family or clothe our family, nor will we be able to have a job even. Therefore, the temptation will be for us to take that mark, wouldn't it? But that would be in a direct violation to the Lord's command in Revelation. Let me read you Revelation chapter 13, 16 to 17, for example. It says, "He calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of the name, 666. So, are there any consequences for taking the mark? Revelation 14, verses 9 to 11 says, "If you receive the mark of the beast, you will receive the full wrath of God." Well, his wrath will not have mercy mixed in with it, it goes on to say. So, very clear there. I can recall when I first met Barry Smith, the late Barry Smith. It was in the early 1990s when Barry first used the term goodbye cash. He also used the term goodbye sovereignty. If you think about the time, that was before we had the problems of whether we're going to stay in or come out of the European Union. And now, some 25 years hence, I've seen Barry's predictions come to pass. And I believe that within the next few years, we will also see the end of cash altogether. But then we will be forced, or it'll be put to us, will we receive the mark or will we refuse it? Well, what's the importance of having the chip or the mark? With the chip going inside our hands, which is already being done in many countries right now, and also many of the global institutions or organizations, businesses, are having their employees have the chip or the mark of the beast, as we would call it, but the chip right now, because they think it's quite cool. They don't see any reason why they shouldn't have that chip put into their hand. And it gives all the information that they need to enter into their office. It's a keyless situation, and also into their car, or be able to pay for their cup of coffee. Looks cool, doesn't it? Come in, I'll have a latte, please. Do you know what? We don't need to carry a bunch of keys around. See, it's very subtle the way this all is introduced. We could be walking into a shop to buy something and say, "Oh, hello, Mr. Conder. Do come in." He knows my name already because it's already been flagged up on his computer. It's come from the chip, if I had one. So what are the other implications there? Well, I suppose really it's very good if you want to cut down on crime, for example. People who are committing crimes, the organisations like MI5, MI6, GCHQ, they will be able to know where you are and where you've been and what you're up to, and any financial transactions that you've had, because you can't pay somebody cash anymore. The black market will all be done away with. Everything will be out in the open. So it's in the government's interest to have you with this mark. It might seem all very well and looks quite above board, but Big Brother is not only watching you, but it's a satanic thing which is talked about in Scripture. So we want to be aware of the implications of this as it turns into a cashless society, and will we take the mark or not? But to accept a chip into our body, again, is a violation of the Lord's words and commands. So it seems quite benign, really, but there's some serious side to this. So over the next few minutes, we'll be looking at videos as well that I think are important to this. But the financial transactions which we're able to do by having such a chip inserted into us could seem very convenient. But there are other more insidious things that we need to be aware of. Everywhere we go, everything we do, perhaps even everything we say, is going to be there for the powers that be who are running our world that may have complete control over our lives. And I wonder why, really, if you think about it. So what we need to be doing is become aware of what's about to happen to us. As I say, it could happen within a matter of months. At least over the next couple of years, I believe we will see the introduction, the forced introduction of having to accept the mark of the beast. Let's have a look at this first video.
And here's your money system coming in, mark of the beast. I've got it here. Let me show you. It's a silicon chip. I'm now showing you, Howard, a silicon chip inside a plastic block. I'll show you.
Right in the centre there, right?
Yeah, the little chip is in the centre. Here is a blow-up of the thing. Look at this one. It's a little glass tube with electronics inside it. There it is. They're using it on dogs and cats and fish and birds and horses.
Injecting it.
Injected it. Here's the injector. Look at it. We're actually looking at this.
It's very tiny then.
Oh. Now, if you want to know who the dog is, you simply use this thing here, a scanner. There's the scanner. You go like this, scan. The message comes from the dog, from the chip, and implanted in its neck. You push the button read. You can read his name is Rover. He's owned by Mr. and Mrs. Brown, 16 King Street, you know, somewhere in London. And the telephone number is there. These people want to go now quickly on beyond animals to human beings. And I can prove this in any meeting. I've got a bag full of information.
This is an identity chip.
It's an identity chip. Now,
this is going to progress into...
It's progressing into a people identification as spoken of in the Word of God. So we're living in the days when this prophecy is literally being fulfilled.
No, it's the right hand of the forehead that's been reserved.
That's what it says here, right hand or forehead.
This is chapter what again?
Revelation 13, 16 to 18.
How are we going to escape this?
Days of overstuffed wallets in your back pocket or purse might soon come to an end. By 2020, mobile wallets on our smartphones are expected to surpass the use of credit and debit cards in the U.S. That has already happened in China. Ben Tracy is in Beijing to show us what a nearly cashless society actually looks like. Ben, good morning.
Good morning. So when I moved here to China a couple of months ago, I kept getting funny looks every time I would pull cash out of my wallet to pay for things. And then I got one of these. It's a code on my phone, and now I can basically buy anything here in China. When you pay for something, how do you pay for it?
Mobile phone.
On the streets of Beijing, cash is definitely not king. What do you think of people who use cash to pay for things?
That's rare and weird, he says. Only the elderly and people who don't know how to use a phone pay cash. This woman says, I rarely take my wallet when I go out, just my phone. That's because those phones can buy just about anything, from clothes in the store to steamed buns on the street. They're used to pay for bike rides and bus rides, rent and utility bills. WeChat and Alipay dominate China's mobile market, and payments on their platforms totaled more than $5.5 trillion last year, a 200% jump from the year before, and nearly 50 times more than the value of mobile payments in the U.S.
One of the big reasons mobile payments have caught on so quickly here in China is because of what most people here don't have in their wallets: credit cards. They basically went from a cash-based society to a cashless one and skipped the step in between.
China has leapfrogged the U.S. into going to a cashless society.
Andy Mock is an economist in Beijing. He says China's cashless revolution has happened in just 3 years, largely thanks to these things called QR codes. You simply scan them with your phone to pay. Nearly every business and person has one. From the farmer's market to the musician on the street playing for a mobile tip.
You can give a homeless person money with your phone. You would never see that in the U.S.
All you have to do is scan that code to transfer money. And it really is ubiquitous in China. From the largest cities, the fanciest hotels, to the most humble street-side shacks will all use QR codes.
The Chinese are comfortable doing everything on their phones, while in the U.S., credit cards and online shopping via personal computers still rule.
These kinds of legacy technologies make any adoption of newer generations of technologies much more slower. So in this sense, I think the U.S. has a little bit of catching up to do.
A recent survey found that 40% of Chinese people carry less than $15 on them, but they would never dream of leaving home without this. As one guy told me on the street, you can't achieve anything without your phone.
India also has a national ID system called Aadhaar that registers people using biometrics. The government assigns an ID number attached to those biometrics and stores the information in a centralized database, so people here don't have to carry a physical ID. So if you want to buy a SIM card, basically you take it here, the smartphone scans the barcode, put your thumbprint on this machine, and it's done. Aadhaar isn't widely used by shops just yet, but the government's registered more than 1 billion people, or 95% of the population so far, making it the world's largest biometric ID system. So can this push to go digital actually lead to a cashless India? What do you think? Can India really go cashless?
Well, cashless. There'll be less cash, right? It won't be zero cash. Almost no economy in the world is.
In fact, a lot of the cash is already returned to the system, and the central bank in India is planning to issue new, lower-denominated bills. That doesn't mean the government's backing off of those cashless dreams. It's set out to process 25 billion digital transactions this year, part of a larger goal to transform India into a $1 trillion digital economy by 2022.
As you can see, there is a lot to consider. Several nations have already introduced the initial stages of eliminating cash, and the next stage will be to introduce the microchip by being injected into our bodies. As Bible-believing Christians, I believe it's time to prepare ourselves so we won't be deceived into accepting the mark of the beast. No matter how much the powers that be try to make us, we must resist. Remember, we cannot serve two masters, as we cannot worship two gods. Thank you for watching World in Focus. This program will be a regular broadcast on TalkGOD TV, so please subscribe. Thank you.